Uh, I bank so much vacation time. So, and I don't take a lot of time off. So at the end of the year, it's usually, day job gives us a nice week off from December 26th to the new year.
Yeah.
And then I'll take usually a week before and a week after. So it's, that's only 2 weeks time that I'm taking. But since I don't take any, I think I get up to 3 for the whole thing. So I'll take some time off at Thanksgiving as well. I remember one of the HR folks was like, I've never seen anyone take off this much time. I'm like, yeah, because you got people during the year taking off days for this and that for, silly reasons. I'll bank mine till the end of the year and just,
Yep.
have a good month off if I need to.
But it feels good when you're off that amount of time too.
Yeah.
You really recharge.
Yeah. I still just do the same thing. It's just I don't draw for my day job. I draw for
pleasure.
For my normal my stuff that I'm working on.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, not somebody else telling you what you're supposed to draw. You can draw what you want.
He just sets up a mirror right next to his computer and he just yells at himself. He says, what are you giving me that face for? I got to go to HR, and that's the other mirror on the other side of the computer.
Yeah.
So you have a problem? This motherfucker. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Well, brother. How are you? Trusted G.M.
That's right. That's right. I'm doing really well. Yeah. You and I had talked a little bit last night just about bullshit and stuff, but this is one of those things. I think we'll lead ourselves in real quick, and then we'll just kind of give a talk. Greetings, fellow slingers. Welcome back to Roll the Hard 20 podcast. It is I, your Trusted GM, and with me, 2 of my long brotherhood hard slingers.
Hail. Yeah. King Khan, the people's champion, talking to you right now.
That's right. I got Samwise Didier and Chris Weaver with me tonight. And we're just basically going to sit down and do a little powwow about the state of the show and where we see it going into the new year of 2023. So we're just going to settle on in, have a couple drinks, and just kind of digress wherever we allow the conversation to go, and hope to bring you guys along for the ride with us. So here we are. We're in our newest season, season 11. And I can honestly say, yeah, we made quite a few changes. Every one of them for the better. Obviously, we added a new AP, and this is easily discernible by there being a new season. Every season, every new AP is a new season, with the exception of Riders on the Storm, seasons 1 and 2, which was the same AP. That was cool. Next, we changed the mechanics we were using from our main show of D&D 5e to Pathfinder 2e. Which I think is pretty good. What do you guys think about that?
I'm stoked. I'm really excited to run the 2E Pathfinder rule set.
I've never played Pathfinder, so I'm enjoying it. I love the way that you can move around and all that and be very, nimble and flexible with what you want to do. And I love the idea that the warriors can choose to use a thing to throw up their shield. So it's just not this constant +4 armor or whatever it is, just hanging around all the time. You got to choose when to use it and when not to. I love that.
Well, it's the minutia of everything. It's the minutia of every single action you take in 2E has its cause and effect totally. And you have to be really tactical about how you do things in that rule set. Even like, Brian, we talk about, cover when we play this AP. I'm like, hey, what cover is this? Is lesser, greater? I love it.
It actually defines the kind of AC bonus you get too, which is kind of strange. I know that when we were doing Dragon's Demand, we were running 5e, which I don't have to say 2e, 5e. Everybody knows what that is. And I think at one point in the game, at some point, I was like, I want to scroll this back and actually play in Pathfinder 1e. I want to play this AP in the vein it was designed to be played, because the monsters are much more dynamic when you start adding those kinds of things to it. You're not trimming off all the beautiful feathers of the peacock, to get to the meat and potatoes. You're actually giving it something more. And I think after a few episodes, one of the players began to squeeze out tears of entitlement. And so that kind of forced me to scroll the AP back to 5e. But I think the door had been opened at that point for that individual to continue his foot stomping about the whole bullshit, which then led to our final awesome change in this AP. And that was bringing the ability for me to shuffle our deck of hard slingers and adding our most recent player, Samwise Didier, a man who I've known for 38 years, Chris, whom I've known for 40 years. Obviously, Sam's a famed artist, trusted brother and best friend also, and he's also the creator of the logo for the show, which I'm very proud of.
I remember meeting the GM and Weaver when they were in when we were in high school.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago, fellas.
It was a very long time ago.
Still haven't used advanced algebra. So that stuff is just BS. You don't
No,
need
that's not true, because I actually found an application for that higher level math. They always said you would use it someday in your life, and I did. When the planet went into planetary quarantine, and I had to teach my daughter that, because when she was learning via Zoom, there's no doubt in my mind that her sixth grade teacher was drunk. And at one point she even said, and I heard because the camera was facing the other way, she told her class, that if you don't understand this Common Core stuff, then just ask your parents how they learned it. And I actually turned and looked and I was like, okay.
And I answered back, I didn't.
Well, there you go then.
What are we all sipping on tonight, Ryder? Was that a whiskey sour or something, or a old-fashioned?
Whiskey and soda. Drinking some more of that awesome Woodford. I blame Junior for getting me hooked on that shit a couple of years back, and I haven't looked back. Man, that's good stuff.
What about I'm going foo-foo, and I'm just drinking Irish cream this evening. So whiskey with some cream, laddie.
Yeah, I just have leftovers from the fridge, so I had a Shiner, which is a Texas beer company, brewed in Shiner, Texas, but it's the holiday cheer, so it's all kind of foo-foo with pecans and spices. And then now I have a Bud Light Tall Boy. Like I said, I'm doing leftovers tonight, so we're just going to be mixing all kinds of... That's like
definitely Red State bouquet right there, man.
We're going to get some solitary soldiers from all the leftovers that didn't quite get finished with the six-pack, so... It's a motley assortment of heroes like the Guardians of the Galaxies are, like just randomness.
Well, the other day when I was going through the edit of one of the latest episodes, and I clipped out that one piece that I thought was really funny, and I made it into a blooper. It'll be on the back end. I sent it to Sam, and he was laughing. He's like, "Yeah, man, I missed that shit when we had the bloopers and stuff on the back end or whatever." It made me start realizing what it is that we've kind of been missing for a while, especially during Dragon's Man. And I almost want to blame it on the Zoom, how we are no longer meeting face-to-face in person in the Rage Room, but we have to do it digitally. And I think that we miss that proximity. So we really have to strive for that comedic aspect. But I think that's important too. I think that's one of the things that I really want to start bringing back in this
Please
AP.
Do.
And in this, but the thing about that is that you got to be able to bounce that kind of stuff off of each other. And I think we all play really well into that. You and I, Sam, poor Eric and Tony, whenever we're on a 4-way call, they just get lambasted by us just ripping these zingers across, and I think I kind of written something down that, when I'm looking at what we've done, the three of us, we have decades worth of playing RPGs and playing together and everything. And Junior and I, we have a very similar relationship that you and I have, Sammy, except for it was born in a workplace. So it's more of like this galley or gallows humor, probably more would be a better definition. Chris and I, you and I, we go back like Sammy, and that lends itself well to the task at hand. And when you add Radke to the mix, it just seems that he and I have very much the same sense of humor, and which can be challenging because I got to watch what I say, and his filter is a little less tight than mine, or I don't know, maybe I'm feeding into it, and so I've got to go through and whoa, easy, Radke, keep myself in check and keep him in check too. But I think that really builds into the overall dynamics of what we've got. And I think that's where our comedic vein will come back, like we had during Carrie and Crown, and we have during all of our Delta Greens. Like when, Radke and Chris went through the Delta Green, that shit was hilarious. The way that reminded me of that movie, The Hard Way, with James Woods and Michael J. Fox. Dating myself from back in the 90s. You had this straight-laced detective, and you had, Michael J. Fox. Remember that Sammy? That show? Did you ever see that?
I don't know if I ever saw that.
The Hard Way?
The Hard Way. And they go to get the frog dog and shit like this. There's a frog dog. Anyways, it's a good show.
It's a movie or a TV show?
It's a movie.
Oh, yeah. I must not have seen that.
That's how I felt about when Chris and Radke were playing their agents. That's how I felt. So, listeners out there, check out The Hard Way. James Woods, Michael J. Fox. Awesome, fun movie. One of those.
And more importantly, check out the Delta Green, because that's when you get to see, Weaver and Radke in a different role, the non-fantasy role, right? They're straight up agents.
It is true. I know, like, when Chris and I, when we've talked in the past, he had mentioned that his favorite AP that we ran was the Riders on the Storm. And I think you said it was because it had that high adventure feel to it, coupled with the comedy and everything else. And Sam, you'd been in on a couple of the episodes of that as our guest player years ago. And that really harkens back to the way we used to play a long time ago, which is really what I want to get back to. And that kind of leads me into what I want to talk about is, what can we expect from the show in the future?
Pain,
power,
majesty.
Predict.
Well, jumping back to the blooper stuff, like, I was a listener to Roll the Hard 20 podcast well before I was a player in it, right? I joined for maybe 2 episodes, I think it was, Ryder on our GM.
No, you call me Ryder. You know the deal.
Yeah, I know. But for the listeners, they don't know the inner, nicknames and stuff. Isn't that right, Sweetie Pie? Sorry, I was talking to Weaver then. You didn't know that, but that's what my name for him is. No, I'm just kidding. But I used to love the blooper stuff when I would listen for it. And then I'd see at the end of the episode, it's got a minute or so left. And I'm like, oh, fuck, is that just the outro or is there a blooper at the minute? So I'd hear it and it's like, greetings, fellow slingers. I'm like, no bloopers, But I'd still listen to it because it's got our trusted GM, spouting mellifluously, with his words and all that stuff. But I love the blooper stuff. So we gotta bring that stuff back in. And the the blooper stuff coming up, I think, will be fun because I have a tendency to stay in character even when we're not role playing, and this is a good example of it. So I'd love to encourage all the players to just stay in character and answer as they would, because it's just funny as shit hearing Trusted GM talk to the characters, out of combat and all of that. And it's like, dude, will you just tone it down a bit? No, I ain't gonna tone it down. This shit is boring,
Shut the fuck up. Just going crazy.
But that energy, though, Sam, that you bring with I'll call it the always in character, it brings a lot of energy to the rest of us. It does for me, where I was never as good as in character that you are or Brian is, but it helps me like maintain some energy to kind of be there. I mean, you guys are like world class, when it comes to the energy and the RPG. And I always aspire to be. That's why, when we were playing Dragon's Den,
it's good to have dreams, man.
That's why I tried kind of that voice when I had Tommy. I kind of tried that.
The Padre was
awesome.
He was honestly your best character. I'm sorry, but he was fucking hilarious. You get that voice. Oh, well, I gotta fucking go suck my teeth tonight. I don't have time to kill something.
But I haven't figured out. I never really figured out how I should sound as a gnome for this Pathfinder AP. It's like I want to, but I haven't really like figured out what it is.
And sometimes it's not even a particular tone. It may be an attitude or an inflection on words or something like that. But
it takes time too to cultivate a character. Khan has gone from, being this young street, tough, to trying to be a little bit more like, all right, you want me to call the shots? Here we go. This is what we're gonna do. And no one listens still, but
to go into the I ain't getting on no plane.
yeah. Yeah.
I ain't flying, Hannibal.
Yeah. In case you the listeners haven't known, Khan is like basically a combination between Kung Fu and what's his name? Kwai Chen Kane and Clubber Lang from Rocky 3. Just a tough, badass dude that has basically lived on his own, as a kid growing up, and he's maybe late teens, early 20s, but he tries to carry himself like he's bigger than anything else, and he's surrounded by this group of older, much more wiser people, and he's still trying to prove himself and all that, but he tends to get more in trouble than anything else.
Or gets us in trouble.
Well, I love
I'm not the one jumping onto roofs wearing plate mail, Junior.
Well, I love the depiction of what you're bringing to the table, though, and I think everybody else that's listening does as well, in all the characters. And I can honestly say that since we started up this AP, we've seen a lot more looser reins, more people getting into character, not afraid to use their voices or the first person aspect, which is awesome.
Well, that's quite the mustache you have there, Mr.
That's
Khan.
right. It's burly.
It's thick.
And that's really what I want out of this AP. And as we begin to look forward to the future of what we want to do on the show, we'll address book 2 after the conclusion of book 1 and see if that's something that we want to continue carrying the torch for. I mean, who knows? Maybe we want to try a different AP. There's still a lot of Pathfinder 1E adventure paths that are out there that I would like to run. I know they're all 6 books each, but I mean, we don't have to go through all 6. We could always do book 1 of something or book 1 of something else and then come back and hit book 2 of a previous one, or just kind of rotate some of this stuff through. Whether we want to convert them from 1E to 2E, or even 5E for that matter, which lends itself really well to a faster paced combat, or even the structure of what they do. I would also like to see us maybe cut some teeth on the sci-fi genre, either in the vein of Starfinder or Traveler. Hell, they even have an alien RPG out there. So you got the space marines and shit, and boop, boop, boop. Check those fucking corners, man. Check those corners. I mean, that kind of shit just screams at fertile ground that I don't think a lot of other shows have really touched base on. I know there's several Starfinder shows out there, so I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about like Traveler or even Alien RPG. I think that kind of shit really goes without saying. And I know I touched base with that on Sam, and he's down for that kind of sci-fi aspect too. So
yeah,
Alien would be badass.
Yeah, get the fucking pulse rifles and everything else and the flamethrowers. So that might be somewhere where we'll go. I know I like a lot of the what I've read about Traveler. I think that their character creation is really simplistic and but good. I think it's well-rounded. I think a lot of its universe is well-rounded, but it might also be because it's been around for so many years.
The great thing about it too is it's I use this in terms of when I create art or when we're doing things for we just want to do all this stuff, and it's like, well, not which one, it's which one first, right? We're going to do them all.
Yes.
We're going to be those, what was that old joke from the bulls going down to the fucking cow field? It's like, we're going to fuck them all, but which one are we going to fuck first,
No, we're not going to run down there.
We're going to
walk down there.
Yeah, we're going to walk. Yeah. And see, I would still run, and then I would fuck them, and it's like, now you get sloppy seconds. Sorry, let's try to keep this PG. You know what I mean?
I always click the explicit content button all the time, man.
Is this made for kids? No.
I will tell you what I wish we had is we had more time together. That's what I wish. I wish we could play more than once a week, but we all have real life.
Well, you and I were just talking before we clicked record, and Sammy had jumped on, but we were talking about when we try to record more than one session, and as the GM, I gotta watch what I do with that, because depending on how fast you get through the first hour, I have to meter out how much of the AP I need to know, which I guess theoretically I should have read the whole thing, but there's times that I like to add my own aspects to the AP. And anybody that owns Bloodlords will already know where I've touched base and made my own fingerprints on it. So
Riva. He's the star of the show so far. I love that character.
Yeah, you like him a lot. Just so that listeners know, he's not in the AP. So
I think that's the great thing about it too, is like I would love to hear some other podcasts do this as well and not just hear the same story, you know. The only thing that's different is the characters. It's like I like when the DMs, the GMs, the creators, and they make all their own stuff. They make it their own. You know, that's the cool thing about it. You know, it's not like just some cut and paste cookie cutter kind of thing where it's like, oh, now they're going to go up against this. And okay, I know how that turns out. Like, nah, I love seeing the new stuff in there, the things that the GM adds to it. That's the flavor. That's the icing. That's the hot sauce.
well, I know like Radke had picked up Dragon's Demand as we were going through it, but he wouldn't read through it, which is good. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't look at the test results. But I know everybody wanted to see Heinrich and how he relayed to everybody else, but he wasn't in the AP. He was just designed to be a butler who kind of got elevated when Stabby did something that he wasn't supposed to. Or, well, he didn't have to do whatever, he could do whatever he wanted to, but there was a price to be paid for that.
He flexed hard, and then he got a big muscle cramp.
He pulled a muscle.
It was one of the greatest characters, dude.
Yeah.
I fucking loved that idea of this. Spoilers, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. You got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we're going to spoil it. He was this older dude who was a butler, but in reality, he was this sort of, you know, rogue or thief, you know, sorcerer. Like he was just this lethal old dude, you know. So I just thought that was one of the coolest kind of characters. Like it's just a great, you know, you hadn't really seen something like that, you know, or at least I haven't. I thought that was one of the coolest characters in the world. So when I got to play him, I was like really into that. And it's like, now I want to make that a character in one of my other stories that I can do. So I'll have to change it enough so the GM won't sue me.
He's an open licensed character. But he was designed as somebody who helped the Baroness stay in her position. He was like her cleaner, basically. So anybody that was in opposition to her position was no longer a problem. And that's when Stubby became a problem. That was something that he was like, you know, should I take care of this? Listen to the AP. It's really good. I enjoyed it.
I love that. It's like, Baroness, should I do something here? I love that, how you did that.
No, it's awesome.
But I love every one of our characters in this AP. I think I took my glasses off, but I got to kind of take a peek at this. When we think about the other APs or other systems that we want to run, I think that for me personally, out of all the possibilities that we have, what I would really like to do for the next season is to run another Delta Green that expands beyond like 3 to 5 episodes. I'm talking about spanning a full season of like 12 episodes or something much more larger that moves from state to state or country to country and has broader sweeping repercussions. Like you get the smaller MacGuffin, which leads to something greater, which leads to an overarching conspiracy of some other type that, you know, the agents are kind of going through. Something where you really feel that there's a monumental weight, not just that you've run the sprint and you succeeded at the end, or you died possibly, but something where you ran the marathon. And
maybe that's something that maybe it doesn't happen all the time, but a larger episode kind of span would be good. Like one of the things I love about Delta Green is, you know, the magic behind the microphone. Listeners, if you don't know, sometimes we'll sit there for 5 or 6 hours and do every single episode. But it's great being able to play that in one setting because you could really stay in character and focus. And I love that they're small enough where, you know, you can jump in and listen to the whole thing, you know, in a few hours and you're done. You get the whole story. But what is missing is that, like you said, Ryder, that grander theme of threat, that, you know, ever encroaching kind of insurmountable sort of thing. Because right now the Delta Greens are like just cool comic book episodes, but having
They're like
something that's more,
one-offs.
more graphic novel in length, I think would be good to add to that. If they were all the one-offs, maybe it's not as cool, but it's entertaining. But if there were all these big grand things, we may not be able to have that I don't know, kind of that level of just engagement, because it's like, oh, I gotta listen to 30 episodes on this. Jeez.
Yeah, and that gets tiring, especially if it's the same agents. So it'd almost be kind of cool to sit down to, 2, 3, 4 hour session like we usually do, and then break and then have the agents move someplace else where one of the agents may hook up with one of the other agents that we
can't
ran,
wait for that, dude.
Something like that. I need you to get your ass over to New Orleans and pick up Agent Rice, and then you guys are gonna rendezvous at, just totally move him up into Canada or something like that. So the two of you are up there. You guys can't use any of your credentials. They're worthless up there. They're a bunch of fucking maple drinking leaf eaters.
Yeah, Rice is my character.
And there's Coldwater and Kimura and Odessa and Ramirez. Like, I can't wait for we're all in one episode together.
The crossover.
Yeah.
The crossover would be really cool to tie all of those, like you say, those comic book type episodes that have now become a feature film.
Yeah, where they're running in tandem, and then suddenly, Superman and Batman get together, and for the next 3 issues, everything kind of ties in together, and that's the kind of thing that I want to see us do on a grander scale. Like if you wanted to listen to, say, episodes 7 through 12 of Agent, Salt and Agent Kimura, when they're in like Oregon chasing down some kind of a MacGuffin or whatever, and that spans for 5 episodes, and then it leads into the next thing. You didn't have to listen to episodes 1 through 6 of, say, Odessa and Coldwell doing whatever they're doing. The torch is getting passed off or parlayed to the next individuals and stuff, so that everything's still grander and sweeping through that. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do for maybe season 12 or 13. So,
it might be interesting. I think it'd be a challenge for you as a handler, because you've got some big personalities. If you brought all 4 of the behind the mic guys that are playing Delta Green together, you got some big personalities there, and that could pose some significant challenge for you as a handler to keep us on track through a feature length film.
Yeah, and it'd almost be like when the Avengers put together their Avengers movie, like at the end of Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, then they get them all together. But I think you and I had discussed that, and this is my own personal opinion, but most of the published adventures, or even the ones that I put together, they're not really designed for anything more than 2 to 3 agents at the most.
Yeah.
So to get 4 agents involved would have to be greater. You would see that the spotlight on 1 or 2 agents would dim during certain episodes, because it's not about rolling for initiative and all 4 of you are standing behind cover or whatever, stand out in the open firing your machine guns and shit, because literally one bullet can kill you. I think what was it, Junior almost went down in deep waters because somebody got shot and he took like 8 points of damage and he only had 9 hit points. It's like, fuck. It's that lethal of a system. So which might be its only detriment, but
that one, the what was Sins of the Father, where basically Agent Kimura was carrying out Agent Odessa, or vice versa. We had like 1 and 2 hit points each. Yeah, and like we were like, trying to pass through security, and it's pretty dangerous.
I just envision these clinical white corridors with walls and stuff, and just this spatter of blood everywhere. Kind of like if you move to the side, Sammy, and you see the logo that's all white with just this meatball stain on the wall.
Bloody red triangle.
Yeah, it's just freaking everywhere, and that's what I envisioned. I think you guys managed to take out the last guard, but you guys were fucking hurting. And I look back on the rules, and I think honestly, once you guys get to a certain point, you actually become incapacitated. So, but I don't like those kind of rules. I like to bend those because I think you should be fighting right up to the end. If your adrenaline's pumping, you're gonna go till you're out. So
yeah, I always looked at hit points as not necessarily like I'm down to 1 hit point, I'm almost dead. It's like no, you're the hit point spectrum is basically like this is what the damage is that you can take, and some damage is more, some is less. But if you still have 1 hit point, your guy's still up and fighting. It's just like the next hit's going to knock you down, just like a boxer. He's wobbling around and all that, but he's still deadly. He can throw a haymaker and knock you out. But 0 is when you're out. But 1, he just needs to hit you. But if he can't hit you, you're still doing fine.
And I think that's the biggest thing with fantasy RPGs is that you could just chug a healing potion and, I feel 12 points better, something like that. But like
it's a Red Bull.
In Delta Green, there is no magic healing potion. Whatever you are at those hit points, those metrics of your life, that's what you continue through with, unless you try to sleep, and then you might get a point back, depending on your role and stuff. It's much more lethal. So,
dude, this new AP, the Bloodlords, I've never played the Paizo stuff, Pathfinder. These monsters at first level are way more difficult than any first level monsters I'm used to encountering. I got my ass kicked by a damn horse, and they got like 3 attacks as well, and they're all doing 1 to 8 with +8 to hit, and all this. Like that's like the episode's already out, so it won't be a spoiler. Go listen to the latest episodes. Bloodlords, was it episode 4, Brother Ryder?
I just released
just
4.
Came out. Yeah.
Khan. By the time this gets out, though, 6 will probably be out already. So
yeah, Khan is fighting this zombie horse, and I had to use a gold doubloon to save a 20 that he rolled on me, a crit. And one of my attacks was to mount, not in that way, but mount the horse. And people might have thought that as Khan's showboat, and it's like, no, if I'm on his back, he can't attack me with 3 different fucking attacks, and I can attack him. He's going to use attacks to try to knock me off and all that kind of stuff. So I am saving myself, party, whatever, from damage. But it was also cool that in the middle of the fight, Khan mounts this zombie horse and then drops the friggin' dragon elbow on his head.
And I think you guys will start feeling your characters better when you start being more tactical with each other. Because for everybody to have been down, I think, Sam, you and I had discussed the other day that Rena, she should have been on the parapet, just boom, boom, boom. I mean, complete, just sending arrows down range and keeping everything at bay, and maybe drop something where you get one of those hounds to come that direction instead of both of them. Try to lure them out one by one. And actually, I think we discussed that if like you've got two monsters or whatever, and you hit one and miss the other, your next attack should not be on the one you missed. They should always be going towards the one you've already damaged. Just can concentrate your fire right there, and that's just tactically sound to eliminate something that's already hurt. Bring it down, take it out, moving on. Everything's going down range in that order. So
latest episode, episode 4, that is. Khan even says, "Focus fire on the horse, then we'll take the dogs after." And then Junior's like, "So I attack the dog." I'm like, fuck. But then he kills the dog. I'm like, good job, man. That's what I would have done.
But it's like you say, that injured monster, even though it has diminished hit points, it can still hit like a fucking freight train.
Yes,
3
it can.
times
Still
with +8 to hit.
Yeah. So you've got to focus the fire. You got to take pawns off the board as quickly as possible.
I agree with that.
Not Khan, right? Pawn.
Khan.
No, I'll take Khan off the board. Don't worry about that.
Shit, that ain't gonna happen, son.
Bloodthirsty
that ain't
GM.
gonna happen, GM. Yeah, at least not yet. But yeah, that's. I think that if we, Junior with the Dwarven Paladin goes and tanks Sorrel, you did great the last episode. Just kind of used the wagon as cover and healed. We got Reyna in some area where no one can get to her, feathering the shit out of stuff, and then Khan will just bebop between, protecting either the healer or protecting the tank. And that's what we got to do. I've been trying to play Khan a bit more stealthy because the normal way I usually play warriors. I like to get into the thick of things, but with Khan, I gotta step back because he's been fun because he is equally great at athletics and aerobatics and all that kind of stuff. Like he's great at stealth, he's great at combat, but
Is that acrobatics or aerobatics?
Aerodynamic batics, and he can't. Acrobatics.
I'm gonna have to look that skill up. I don't think I saw that in the book.
Yeah, I got a +8 in it. Check it out. It's pretty powerful.
Oh shit.
But I can't I can't get hit. My armor's pretty good, but I don't have the hit points I think that a normal stout dwarf tank paladin in armor, has.
Well, I know that. What was I gonna say? Fuck, I lost my train of thought. I know what I was gonna say. I think I told you last night. This AP only delivers you guys up to level 4, I think. It's not as broad sweeping as everyone thinks it's going to be. I know Ratke was saying, after Magusta, I think after this sub or this mini boss fight, we're going to level up. No, that is not the case. I mean, you guys stay at level 1 for a certain duration, and they've made milestones in this AP to where you will level up to the 2nd level and the 3rd level and whatnot, but it doesn't have the kind of fast track that a lot of the other older APs from the different systems had, like 5e or Pathfinder 1e or whatnot. But
I love the low level gameplay. It's the best because you have a limited I was about to say vocabulary, limited tool set, and you just got to max that out. And that's what I loved about it. That was one thing I liked about the old, I think we said it was 4th edition Rider, where first level fighter gets like a bull rush, a cleave, and can call, mark an opponent to have them attack. And it's like, dude, I used to just love using those 3 skills. And then when you started getting deeper into the dailies and encounters, it just bogged everything down. And they had some fun stuff, but it was just not worth the 20 minutes of time people trying to figure out, oh, let me check out my encounter, let me check out my daily. It's like, ugh.
And that became a thing. The higher level you got, the more dice you rolled, the more time you spent adding up this shit and looking through your cards and stuff. It should be. That's why I do like the lower level gameplay. Usually from 3 to 5 is my sweet spot. This edition seems to be really good at 1st and 2nd level, so that's kind of cool. And who knows? Yeah. I mean, I know that you and I had talked at length at getting Chris to be on the other side of the DM screen with you and I on the same side.
2nd edition, Weaver. Go back to the OG days.
Now you better clarify 2nd edition. I'm sorry, Chris, because you and I have had a discrepancy over what's. There you go. That's really
the 3 core books: Monster Manual, DM's Guide, Player's Handbook, and then, we'll branch out into Fiend Folio and Monster Manual too.
There it is. There it is. My favorite book.
Yeah, I was telling Ryder the other night, I was at the convention where they debuted, the Get Yankee. If you're not looking at this, Weaver just held up his Fiend
Hold
Folio.
That back up for a second, Chris.
Yeah, beauty. That's a very nice conditioned book too. A little bit wear on the spine and the fold, but man.
All of my old advanced D&D books are in great condition.
Yeah, but that was like such a fun time. I'm sure if we played it again, we'd be having struggles, but there was some great stuff. They had a classic player's handbook with the the thieves picking out the eyeball and warrior cleaning off his blade, serpent thing dead on the cover. That was the best. Then the DM's Guide had the old Efreet standing there, the big red boy. Yeah.
Got them all, baby.
Yeah, that one's a bit more beat up, dude.
Yeah, this one's a little bit more beat up, but it's still in good shape. And you know what's crazy is the pages are in perfect condition.
Oh, fuck.
Mine's not. Where you turn to the pages that has the attack with all the different classes and the saving throws, those are like pulled out, man. I need to get a ring binder for them.
Now, I don't know if you could see this, but this is my when Chris calls me, this is what shows up Let's see if I can do this. I don't want his number to show up.
Are you going to use the video for this video?
I am going to.
Oh man, I've been playing with myself the whole time. Sorry about that,
It's
guys.
okay. Let me see if I can click on the picture.
While he's doing that, one of my other favorite. What is that?
I can't see it now. It's all
don't sweat
out.
it. It's a stack of his books that he showed me that he pulled out. So his picture is the books.
Oh yeah.
Oh fuck yeah!
The
Oriental
politically
Adventures.
incorrect, dude. I love that. The Kensai from there. Ooh.
The one book I can't find, I cannot find it, is my Legends and Lore book.
You mean Deities and Demigods?
No, it switched to Deities and Demigods.
No,
Yeah,
the
it
first
switched.
one was Deities. Legends and Lore was
The
after.
replacement after they
Yes.
pulled the H.P. Lovecraft and the
Yeah. Cthulhu.
well, that was part of it though, but there was something else that got pulled out of it
Well,
too.
oh, the Melnibonian, the Michael Moorcock stuff. Yeah, Unearthed Arcana. That was a
Okay.
great one. Yeah, the Deities and Demigods had the Elric of Melnibone gods in there, and it also had the Cthulhu mythos.
Okay. Yeah, and that was stuff that they didn't have the rights to put
Copyrights
in there,
to,
so they
yeah.
had to re-release it under Legends and Lore without that stuff in there. So
Yep.
You know,
Good memory.
just to kind of piggyback on what you said about lower level characters. You know, now that we're not going to really level that much through this AP. You have to really be very creative about how you use your first level character through a large portion of the AP, because you've only got a few. You're, in some respects, you're almost like a one-trick pony. You don't have a lot of things you can do, so you've got to be super tactical and creative about what you do with your character at these lower
That's why
levels.
that's why you gotta have a good party mix. Because remember old D&D stuff. What did a fighter do? He attacked better. That was it. You had to be creative with how you played,
Yeah.
right? You know,
And my
magic user
reply
had
to
one
that-
spell at first level, one, and then you're back to throwing daggers.
My reply to that would just be to know that character very well, and not just like say as the monk, I know how to stand and kick and punch, but like know the other skills of what you can do to flip up onto a roof that's nearby, or try to taunt something and get out of the way, or whatever, you know. Really delve into what that character can do and
Yeah,
how
and
you can make
even,
the first levels work for you.
and even just being creative with what you do. Like there's been many times where I've wasted a good attack for a good hero moment. Like when we were trying to save the dwarf, the zombie was coming out the door and Khan jumped in and kicked the door. Instead of just kicking the monster, he kicked the door to kind of smash it. Why? Because that's cool. Like getting these heroic moments. Jumping onto the horse was a heroic moment in the sense of, well, it'll also save my ass, but it seems cool. Like just trying to do cool things. And if you sit there and end up dying because you were trying to do something cool, that's a good hero's death, in my opinion.
You only die once. Make
That's
it
right.
good.
Make it make it worth it.
Make it worth it. And that's the cool thing about, I mean, these are games that you're meant to be a hero. You know, you're meant to go out like a supernova, not die hiding behind a wall or something. I mean, be the hero that you want this guy to be. If the character is an introvert that's afraid, then have that be part of the character arc that you're trying to bring this character to the forefront. You want to make this character known, you know, want to make a name because maybe his brother was somebody who was a big legend somewhere, and you've always been in the shadow of this individual. So it's time for you to renew yourself and avenge your brother who died by some stupid drunk in a bar or whatever. And just you carry the weight of that, and that helps with your character development.
Yeah,
Great
Sorrel's
backstory.
got a great story with that, dude. Your dude's getting old and he's starting to turn to, what is it, stone or ash or whatever it is.
yeah.
And
Ashy.
so you got to
Yeah.
get back out and, get some adventure in you.
Yeah. So I have a question for the two of you.
7. Is that the answer?
Purple.
Why
Oh.
why do you play these kinds of games? Why do we play, or why do you play D&D? And Brian, don't think of it as a GM. think of it as a player, why do you play these kinds of games?
I think for me, it liberates me from the constraints of society, and I know I can't jump up on a wall and swing a sword down on somebody. Not that I'm saying I'm psychotic in that way, but it allows me to do things that I would love to be able to have done or do or be that individual. Whether I could, I remember I used to have dreams of flying like Raceland. Not that Raceland ever flew, but I was in the black robes and stuff and doing, speaking this spidery language of magic as I was doing things and flying around. I remember that dream very well. And it's like, that's the kind of shit I'd love to do, is get in touch with these ethereal aspects and have devoted yourself to a martial way and stuff. Not just martial arts, but I'm talking about like with broadswords and bastard swords and glaives and shit like that. Yeah, I think that kind of stuff is just really cool. Even, I mean, to branch out from there to like Delta Green or to Starfinder, just these games, they take you out of the earthen world that we live in and allow us to live lives that we couldn't live any other way.
What about you, Sammy?
Well, I like creating myth. I like creating stories. I like creating fables. I grew up reading mythology and Tolkien and, even onto like Dragonlance and, Conan, all these stories. Playing Dungeons and Dragons or any of the, sort of the other offshoots, it lets you create these stories where you're this hero and you can do anything you want, or you could play this, conniving rogue, or, sort of a crazy wizard, or a, holy warrior. Like, I'm an artist. I create characters all the time. With Dungeons and Dragons, it lets me actually play out the stories of these characters and create personalities for them and things like that. It's, bottom line, it's just fun. But it's the same reason why we play video games. It's fun to play, run around as a ninja, warrior, or any of these kind of things. But the best game in the world, I always get that. What's your favorite game? Dungeons and Dragons. Doesn't matter what, I don't care about tabletop or video games. All that. Dungeons and Dragons is still my favorite game because you make the story, you make the hero, you control everything. It's all about your imagination, and all you really need is a pair of dice. I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons with just 6-sided dice because that's all we had. We didn't have the fancy dice that we can go to the store and buy, so we had to figure out how to do it with 6-sided dice, and that's all you need is a pair of, roll the bones. That's just the fun shit. So I played first couple of years like making up characters and classes and what they would do, and the GM or DM would make the monsters, and super hard to do and all that, but it was just fun. We just had a great time, and you don't need anything else. You need a pencil, paper, and some dice, and you're ready to go, and one more person. But yeah, it was always a blast. I would sit there and just make characters all the time, and this character has this story and that, and they're all first level, but I'd have these elaborate stories and elaborate backgrounds. It was super fun and creative. As an artist, that's what I love to do. I can do the visuals for it, but I'm not necessarily a writer or a writer. So D&D allows me to create a story that goes with the artwork.
And you, Chris?
I can't really add anything more than what the two of you have already said.
Plagiarism.
I'm not an artist. I'm not a fantastic orator or person that can weave a vision like you do, Brian.
Dude, your literally last name is Weaver.
Well,
Chris Weaver.
But I think for me, and I still to this day, if I'm having trouble like sleeping, I will actually visualize. I will visualize, some of these environments and things that we do. And it's, for me, it's more about a really a really intriguing place, and picturing myself in that location, and maybe setting up camp and exploring a little bit into those areas. And maybe I encountered a bad guy or an enemy, and I have to dispatch because I want to get back to just the visuals and the sanctity and the calmness of that environment, that visual environment for me. And I still do that to this day, even as a plus 50 adult. It helps me kind of disconnect from the rest of the world and just picture myself in these fantasy type environments. But having reconnected with you, Brian, 2 years ago after a 30 plus year, hiatus and apart, is it has allowed me to and had me kind of tap into more of my creative side of playing these games with you guys. And I'll tell you, having Sam playing with us,
I've had Sam.
I mean, bringing back so many memories for me that are 40, 35 years ago, that, us being able to play together is it's exciting for me.
And that's kind of cool that, out of our whole group, which we have an awesome lineup, but like the three of us, we go so far fucking back in time. I mean, we could scroll back a time to when Walkmans were a thing, Holy shit, when TVs had only like 5 or 6 channels that worked. I enjoy that. I know,
static.
like, what's that, brother?
The other ones were static.
Yeah, they were all
Remember
static. I know, like, when I started talking with Chris again and he got involved with the show, and I mean, he jumped at it. He wanted to, and it's like, this is fucking awesome. Talk about harkening back to a time when we used to spend all weekend at your house and put shit together, and just seeing you happy and pulling your books out and getting involved and like sending me stuff of things that I'm needing to look up, and he's sending them out to me. It's like, and this guy, we all need this as an outlet of men. Well, I know it sounds weird. It's not, we're not out there playing rugby or whatever, but I mean, as an outlet of really good friends to be together and bond. I know it sounds kind of corny or cheap, but I mean, you want to bond over something with your friends. And we're not sitting over a mirror chopping up lines, or we're not doing something stupid that's illegal or whatever. There are way worse things that people could be involved with. But I think that what we do serves a really good purpose for ourselves. We all help each other out through this. We all enjoy it together. We all look forward to seeing each other when we get together and start our recording and stuff. And we all talk throughout the week. So I think
we did this when we were 16.
Yeah.
We're doing it now when we're 52 or whatever we are. It's just something we've done our whole lives. That's cool.
The only thing I miss is that we're not doing it in person. That's the only thing I miss about all of this, that if the three of us were together in a room, I think it also, I mean, Sam, you've always had this kind of larger than life personality, but to have, if all three of us were in a room together physically, that the way your personality is infectious. And I think it draws people out to kind of be uncomfortable and be comfortable doing things they're not familiar with or used to doing, just for the fun and the story and just being together, just slaying bad guys.
Yeah, it's fun stuff, man. It allows you to act in a way that you wouldn't, your normal personality wouldn't work, or
totally
stuff. It's like, yeah, for those moments, I'm this person and I'm going to act this way, and it's super fun. And not to mention, well, unless you're buying the new editions all the time, we never even had to move on from the original books. It's like that. There's all that entertainment all wrapped in the words that's, Gary Gygax created with a handful of people back in the 70s.
And I think other than that, that one time when Koosh ran us through the sinister secret of Salt Marsh for, I think it was like 10 episodes or whatever. I've been lucky enough to have ran everybody through everything. So I've seen Sam and Tony and Chris and Junior and Koosh and Eric, and it's been really, and Ratke, and it's been really rewarding to see how everybody brings different characters and works with each other. It's kind of cool because I just let you guys do your thing, and I just kind of sit back and in my machinations just kind of, yeah, you do that, go fuck with that horse, or whatever you're gonna do. I like seeing that and seeing how you guys interact and how nobody has a disdain for one another. That to me is really good, because it means we've got a really good group. We don't harbor any resentment or ill will towards each other. I think this is important. I think it works really, really well. So
I agree. As long as these pussies keep fucking moving forward, we're good to go. I like when you said mechanation. It made me think about this society ruled by giant robots that people mechanation.
That T-1000.
Yeah,
Merry
there's our
Christmas.
traveler
The Christmas T-1000. Or Mr. T-1000. I pity the fool that don't.
I pity you. I pity you, fool.
But I think, moving forward, that's. I know we kind of digressed, which is kind of cool because I like digressing as we go through all this stuff. I kind of fucked up that word. But looking at the shelf and looking at all the APs and the things that we want to do, knowing that we don't just have Bloodlords Zombie Feast as our one and only thing that we want to do, that we have other things on the horizon that we want to cut our teeth on. We want to do Traveler. We want to do Starfinder. Or we want to do Aliens RPG, which sounds badass. We also want to do maybe some basic fantasy RPG, which it's free. Just go to the website and download the stuff. It's a piece of cake to play. Talk about like old Redbox with Ascending Armor class and everything else. It's a really good, easy system to learn.
My armor class is 0. That means it's good.
Yeah. And of all things, I certainly want to get more Delta Green in our show. So
yeah, goddamn right.
Yeah, goddamn right. Old Heisenberg, he's been with us since the beginning.
Dude, I'm still waiting to see what happens with Agent Kimura and Odessa, man. We're on the outs right now.
And we will. I think I was talking to Chris about that before we started recording, that when we start bringing other people in, like if you and Tony jump on board, it will probably be with other agents, because until we address where they've gone, which is a totally different AP that I've kind of prepped up to a point. But I have to kind of rework it because I don't like the way the published aspect came about. I like to put my own palm print on things. So
yeah, get your own stink on it. I got it.
But I look forward to it, and I think, like I said, under the pale moon, or under a pale moon, will be ready to be played soon, and we'll get that shit out to you guys.
Is that your own one?
That is.
It's a good name.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that. It's good.
Who you calling pale?
Is that you? Are you blending into that back wall?
I'm blending into the background.
Does anybody else have anything else you guys want to add before we shut down this little endeavor here tonight?
No,
Could have spent this whole night slinging dice, but all these other slackers that couldn't make it tonight.
We could have.
No, this has been fun. This is good to catch up on old times and just talk about where we are and where the show's going. It's awesome.
Well, let's say goodnight to all of our fellow slingers out there that are listening to the show. Wish them a happy new year, because this will come out right about the time of the new year. So
hail, roll hard, slingers, roll hard.
Yeah, make sure you warm up your dice and top off your glass every time you listen to Roll the Hard 20 podcast.
Hail.
Thank you for joining us once again on Roll the Hard 20 podcast. Remember, you can find us and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeart Radio, Amazon Podcasts, and Audible. And if you like what you're listening to, leave us that 5-star rating and review. We've also have a YouTube channel at Roll the Hard 20, so if you're into watching, head on over and hit that subscribe bell. We can also be found in the wild on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so don't forget to look for us there and check us out. You can also contact the show directly at rollthehard20podcast@gmail.com or head on over to the website at rollthehard20podcast.com, where you can download the current show directly, pick and choose past shows from our archives, or view our galleries. We've got a lot of stuff posted there, so check us out. And finally, join us on our Patreon page at patreon.com/rollthehard20podcast, where you can become a hard slinger and pick up swag. So until next session, keep your dice warm and your glass topped off as you roll those hard 20s.